Imagine stepping into a glittering pavilion where secrets whisper in the shadows. One wrong glance could unravel a deadly web. Welcome to the enigmatic world of Hercule Poirot, where a single death shatters the facade of elegance. Chapter 1. The arrival at the Emerald Pavilion pictured this. The year is 1928. The sun is dipping low over the English countryside, casting a golden hue on the sprawling estate known as the Emerald Pavilion. This isn't just any grand house. It's a jewel of architecture, with its towering spires, manicured gardens bursting with vibrant roses and neatly trimmed hedges, and a central pavilion made entirely of glass that sparkles like an emerald under the fading light. Our story begins here, at this opulent retreat owned by the wealthy industrialist Sir Reginald Hargrove, a man whose fortune was built on steel mills and whose reputation is as polished as his silver cufflinks. Sir Reginald has invited a select group of guests for a weekend of luxury, games, and perhaps a bit of business mingling. But lurking beneath the surface of this idyllic gathering is a tension as thick as fog rolling in from the nearby moors. Enter Hercule Poirot, the renowned Belgian detective with his impeccably waxed mustache, sharp green eyes that miss nothing, and a mind that operates like a finely tuned clockwork mechanism. Poirot isn't here by accident. He's been personally invited by Sir Reginald, who mentions in his letter a vague unease about family matters that might require a discreet eye. Poirot, ever the lover of puzzles, accepts, arriving by train at the nearby station where a sleek, black Rolls-Royce awaits to whisk him away. As the car glides up the winding gravel driveway, Poirot adjusts his patent leather shoes and straightens his tie, observing the landscape with that characteristic tilt of his head. Ah, the English. Countryside? He murmurs to himself in his precise accent. So peaceful on the outside, yet so often hiding the chaos within. Upon arrival, Poirot is greeted at the grand entrance by the butler, Mr. Jenkins, a stoic figure with a face like weathered oak and a uniform that could have been starched by the gods themselves. Jenkins leads Poirot into the foyer, where crystal chandeliers dangle overhead, reflecting light in 1,000 prisms. The air is scented with fresh lilies from the garden and the faint aroma of cigar smoke wafting from the drawing room. Sir Reginald himself emerges to welcome Poirot, a burly man in his 50s with a booming voice and a handshake like a vice. "Monsieur Poirot, delighted you could make it. Come, meet the others. We're just about to have cocktails in the pavilion." Guests are an eclectic mix, each with their own aura of intrigue, that Poirot's little gray cells immediately begin to catalog. First, there's Lady Evelyn Hargrove, Sir Reginald's elegant wife. Draped in a silk gown the color of midnight, her pearls gleaming as she sips a martini. She's the picture of poise, but Poirot notes the slight tremor in her hand nerves, perhaps. Next to her stands their daughter, Miss Amelia Hargrove, a vivacious young woman in her early 20s with bobbed hair and a laugh that echoes like tinkling glass. Amelia is engaged to Captain Victor Langston, a dashing war veteran with a scar across his cheek and a penchant for telling tall tales of his exploits in the trenches. Victor's eyes dart around the room as if always on alert. Then there's Dr. Elias Thorne, a family physician, a bespectacled man with a kindly demeanor but fingers stained yellow from years of smoking. Poirot wonders if his medical bag holds more than just remedies. Beside him is Mrs. Beatrice Caldwell, Sir Reginald's sister-in-law, a widow with sharp features and a tongue even sharper, known for her biting wit and her late husband's mysterious death at sea. Rounding out the group is Mr. Harold Finch, Sir Reginald's business partner, a sly fellow with a pencil-thin mustache and a ledger always tucked under his arm, whispering about investments and profits, as they gather in the emerald-tinted pavilion. A magnificent glass structure overlooking a serene lake, the conversation flows like the champagne being poured by the maids. Poirot positions himself in a wicker chair, observing the dynamics. Sir Reginald boasts about his latest acquisition, a rare diamond necklace he's planning to gift Lady Evelyn for their anniversary. He even brings it out from a velvet box, the gems catching the light and drawing gasps from the group. "It's called the Star of the Nile," he says proudly, "worth a king's ransom." Amelia claps her hands in delight while Victor eyes it with what Poirot perceives as envy. Mrs. Caldwell makes a snide remark about flaunting wealth in uncertain times, earning a glare from her brother Dash and Dash Law. Dinner follows in the grand dining hall, a feast of roast pheasant, asparagus and hollandaise, and decadent chocolate soufflé. The table is set with fine china and silverware that clinks softly under candlelight. Poirot, seated between Amelia and Dr. Thorne, engages in light banter. He learns that tensions are simmering. Sir Reginald and Harold have been arguing over business decisions, with Harold pushing for risky expansions. Lady Evelyn confides quietly to Poirot that she's worried about her husband's health, mentioning odd pains he's been ignoring. Victor, meanwhile, shares war stories, but Poirot detects a falseness in his bravado. Perhaps the captain isn't as heroic as he claims. As the evening wears on, the group retires to the pavilion for after dinner. Liqueurs. The moon rises, bathing everything in silver, and a gentle breeze rustles the curtains. Suddenly, a sharp cry pierces the night. Everyone rushes to the source. Sir Reginald slumped in his armchair, his face contorted in agony, a half-empty glass of brandy spilled on the floor beside him. Dr. Thorne kneels quickly, checking for a pulse. "He's dead," the doctor announces gravely. "Poison, I suspect. Look at the foam on his lips. Chaos erupts." Lady Evelyn faints into Amelia's arms. Victor shouts for the police. Mrs. Caldwell fans herself dramatically, while Harold paces, muttering about scandals ruining the business. Poirot, calm as ever, steps forward. "Mes amis, do not touch anything. The scene must remain intact." He examines the body without disturbing it, noting the diamond necklace still clutched in Sir Reginald's hand weight. No, it's gone. The velvet box lies empty on the side table. Theft and murder in one fell swoop. Poirot's mind races. Who had opportunity? Everyone was in the pavilion, but people had stepped out briefly for fresh air, to smoke, or to fetch something. The brandy decanter sits innocently on the bar. Could the poison have been in there, or just in his glass? And the necklace valued at thousands, where? Could it have vanished too so quickly? Poirot questions Jenkins the butler, who swears he served the drinks himself and noticed nothing amiss. The maids are hysterical, claiming they saw a shadowy figure near the gardens earlier. As the local constable arrives, a bumbling fellow named Inspector Graves, who immediately defers to Poirot's reputation, the detective begins piecing together alibis. Lady Evelyn was in the powder room. Amelia and Victor were strolling by the lake. Dr. Thorne had excused himself to check his medical bag. Mrs. Caldwell was admiring the flowers. Harold was on the telephone in the study. Each story seems plausible, yet Poirot senses lies woven in like threads in a tapestry in the quiet hours that follow. As the body is removed and the guests are confined to their rooms, Poirot paces the pavilion, his hands clasped behind his back. He reflects on the clues, the missing necklace. The poisoned brandy confirmed by a quick test Dr. Thorne performs, and a faint scent of almond cyanide. Classic and swift. But why kill Sir Reginald now, in front of everyone? And who benefits? The will. Perhaps Lady Evelyn inherits the estate, but Amelia gets a trust fund. And Harold might gain control of the business. Poirot interviews each guest briefly. That night, Lady Evelyn tearfully admits to marital strains over Sir Reginald's workaholic nature. Amelia confesses her engagement to Victor was rushed, hinting at financial pressures. Victor reveals he owes debts from gambling, eyeing the necklace as a potential savior. Dr. Thorne mentions prescribing sedatives to Sir Reginald, but nothing toxic. Mrs. Caldwell smirks about her brother-in-law's enemies in business, while Harold sweats, insisting their partnership was solid. By dawn, Poirot has a theory forming, but he needs more footprints in the garden, perhaps, or a hidden vial. He decides to explore the grounds at first light, knowing the killer is among them, watching, waiting for a slip. This sets the stage for our mystery, friends, a web of motives and deceptions under the glittering facade. Stick around as we delve deeper into the suspect's secrets in the next chapter. Chapter 2. Unraveling the suspect's secrets as the first light of dawn creeps over the misty lawns of the Emerald Pavilion. Hercule Poirot stands by the window of his guest room. sipping a cup of strong black coffee that Jenkins the butler has dutifully prepared. The house is eerily quiet now, with the guests sequestered and the police tape fluttering like ghostly ribbons around the pavilion. Inspector Graves, rubbing sleep from his eyes, joins Poirot in the drawing room, where a fire crackles to ward off the morning chill. "Monsieur Poirot," Graves says with a deferential nod. "I've telegraphed Scotland Yard, but they're hours away. In the meantime, perhaps you could assist." Poirot smiles faintly, his mustache twitching. "But of course, Inspector, the little gray cells, they are already at work." Let us begin with the interview's proper ones this time, away from the hysteria of last night. They start with Lady Evelyn Hargrove, who enters the room wrapped in a cashmere shawl, her eyes redrimmed from tears or lack of sleep. She perches on the edge of a velvet sofa, twisting a handkerchief in her hands. Poirot leans forward gently. "Madame, tell me about your husband's enemies. A man of his stature must have collected a few." Evelyn hesitates, then whispers about rival industrialists who'd threaten lawsuits over patents, but nothing deadly. Poirot probes deeper, and within the family. Tensions, perhaps? She admits to arguments over money Sir Reginald had been cutting back on her allowances, claiming business setbacks. "He said we needed to economize," she says bitterly, yet he buys that extravagant necklace. Poirot notes her clenched fists. Could resentment have boiled over? She leaves. He spots a faint bruise on her wrist, hidden by her sleeve, but not from his keen gaze. Next comes Miss Amelia Hargrove, her youthful energy dimmed, accompanied by Captain Victor Langston, who hovers protectively. Poirot separates them politely, first questioning Amelia alone. "Mademoiselle, you were by the lake with the captain when the cry was heard. What did you see?" She describes hearing a rustle in the bushes, dismissing it as wildlife, but Poirot presses. "And your father's gift, the necklace, did it interest you?" Amelia blushes, confessing she'd hoped for a share of the family jewels for her dowry, as her engagement ring is modest. "Victor's not wealthy," she adds softly, "but father approved." Mostly, Poirot senses unspoken worries. Perhaps the old man had second thoughts about the match. Switching to Victor, Poirot eyes the scar on his cheek. "Captain, your war stories, they are impressive. But tell me, how does a hero find himself in debt?" Victor stiffens, admitting to gambling losses from his army days, but insists Sir Reginald had promised to help. "He was like a father to me," Victor says, though his voice wavers, Poirot recalls. The envious glance at the necklace. Motive there? Certainly. As Victor exits, Poirot notices mud on his boots, fresh, as if from a recent walk in the damp gardens. Dr. Elias Thorne follows, adjusting his spectacles nervously. "Doctor, you confirmed the poison cyanide non? Where might one obtain such?" "A thing." Thorne explains it's common in medical supplies for certain treatments, but swears his bag was locked. Poirot inquires about Sir Reginald's health. "He had pains, you say? Perhaps something more serious?" Thorne reveals prescribing heart medication, but nothing toxic. Yet Poirot detects a flicker of guilt. Turns out Thorne had borrowed money from Sir Reginald for a failed investment. "He was pressuring me to repay," Thorne admits. A search of his room later reveals a vial of potassium ferrocyanide, harmless, but similar in name to the deadly cyanide. Coincidence? Mrs. Beatrice Caldwell sweeps in next, her sharp features accentuated by the morning light. "Ah, the widow Caldwell," Poirot greets. "Your late husband's death at sea, was it truly an accident?" She bristles, but laughs it off. "What are you implying, detective? That I have a taste for murder?" Poirot shifts. "In your relationship? With your brother-in-law?" Beatrice confesses to frequent clashes. Sir Reginald had cut her from his will recently, calling her a leech. "He deserved it," she snaps, then catches herself. Poirot notes her access to the kitchen earlier. Eid complained about the tea and gone to supervise. Plenty of time to tamper with the brandy. Finally, Mr. Harold Finch, the business partner, slinks in, ledger still in hand. "Monsieur Finch, partnerships can sour like old wine." Yeah, what was the argument about? Harold sweats, explaining a dispute over expanding into foreign markets, risky but potentially lucrative. "Reginald was too cautious," he says. Poirot reveals. He'd overheard whispers of embezzlement. Harold pales, admitting minor creative accounting, but nothing criminal. A quick check of his pockets yields a crumpled note. Meet me at midnight urgent. From whom? Harold claims it's business, but Poirot smells deceit. With interviews done, Poirot and Graves comb the grounds. In the garden, they find footprints. Leading to a tool shed matching Victor's boots, perhaps? Inside a gardening glove with traces of white powder could be cyanide residue. Near the lake, a discarded cigarette butt with lipstick. Lady Evelyn smokes, but so does Beatrice. Poirot examines the pavilion again. The brandy decanter tests positive for poison, but only Sir Reginald's glass was affected, suggesting targeted dosing. The empty velvet box yields a hair blonde like Amelia's. Mid-morning. A telegram arrives. Sir Reginald's lawyer confirms the will. Evelyn gets the house. Amelia a fortune upon marriage. Harold the business if he repays debts. Thorn a small bequest. Beatrice nothing. Motives multiply. Poirot gathers everyone for lunch. A tense affair in the sunroom. I have theories, he announces, but evidence is key. He watches reactions. Victor fidgets. Evelyn avoids eye contact. Afternoon brings a breakthrough. Searching. Rooms with Graves' warrant. Poirot finds the necklace hidden in Victor's suitcase. Wrapped in a handkerchief monogrammed with Amelia's initials. Confronted, Victor claims it was planted. Amelia bursts into tears, saying she'd handled it earlier, but didn't steal it. Poirot ponders. Frame job? As evening falls, Poirot retreats to think, piecing timelines. Thorn left the pavilion at 8:45 p.m. for his bag. Beatrice at 9 o'clock for the kitchen. Harold on the phone from 9:05. The cry was at 9:15. Poison takes minutes, administered just before, and Jenkins recalls serving brandy at 9:10. But anyone could have added it. A maid reports seeing Thorn arguing with Sir Reginald days prior about the loan. Another saw Beatrice near the decanter. Poirot tests a hunch. Cyanide smells of almonds. But not everyone can detect a genetic trait, he asks casually. Only Thorn and Evelyn claim they can't smell it. By night, Poirot has suspects narrowed. Greed, revenge, desperation. Second poison attempt. Lady Evelyn's tea tastes odd. Tested, it's laced with sedative. Someone silencing her? This chapter of clues tightens the noose, revealing layers of betrayal. Join me in the next, as Poirot chases red herrings and hidden truths. Chapter 3. Chasing Red Herrings and Hidden Truths, the second day at the Emerald Pavilion. Dawns with a heavy rain pattering against the glass roof, turning the estate into a watery prison where secrets seem to seep from every corner. Hercule Poirot, impeccably dressed despite the gloom, gathers Inspector Graves and the local sergeant in the library. A room lined with leather-bound tomes and a massive oak desk cluttered with Sir Reginald's unfinished correspondence. Gentlemen, Poirot declares, tapping his egg-shaped head, we have a puzzle with many false paths, the red herrings, as you English say. But the truth, it hides not in the obvious, but in the overlooked. Graves nods eagerly, spreading out notes from yesterday's findings. The hidden necklace, the powdered glove, the lipstick-stained cigarette. Poirot suggests they start by re-examining the tool shed where the footprints led. Sloshing through the mud and borrowed galoshes, the trio reaches the shed, a rickety structure half hidden by ivy. Inside, amid rakes and shears, Poirot spots the glove again, right-handed, with white residue. He sniffs it carefully. Not cyanide, non-chalk, perhaps? Or rat poison from the estate stores. Quick test with a borrowed kit from Dr. Thorne confirms it's arsenic-based rodenticide, but cyanide was the killer. A diversion, Poirot mutters. The footprints, upon closer inspection, are size 10 matching Victor's, but also Harold's and even Jenkins. Graves dusts for prints on the shed door, smudged, unhelpful. As they return, Poirot notices a torn piece of fabric caught on a thorn. Bush near Baselk, midnight blue, like Lady Evelyn's gown from dinner. Back inside. Poirot confronts Evelyn in the conservatory, where she's tending orchids with trembling hands. Madame, this fabric yours. She pales, admitting she'd walked in the garden alone after dinner, seeking solitude. Reginald and I argued earlier, she confesses. He accused me of flirting with Dr. Thorne. Poirot raises an eyebrow. An affair? Evelyn denies it vehemently. but mentions Thorne's kindness during her bouts of insomnia. Poirot files this away. Jealousy as motive for Sir Reginald, but reversed. He asks about her tea from last night, the odd taste. She shrugs it off as nerves, but Poirot insists on testing a sample. Mild sedative, not poison. Someone wants you quiet, madame. Why? Evelyn whispers of overhearing Harold and Reginald shouting about forged documents days ago. Shifting focus. Poirot visits the kitchen, interviewing the staff. The cook, a plump woman named Mrs. Potts, recalls Beatrice Caldwell lingering near the pantry. Complaining about the brandy being too sharp, she poured a nip herself, Mrs. Potts says. Maids chime in. One saw Victor slipping out to the shed mid-evening, claiming to fetch a cigar case. Another spotted Amelia near her father's study, rifling through drawers. Poirot thanks them with a bow, then examines the brandy decanter in the evidence room. A faint fingerprint on the stopper partial, but matching Thorne's from his medical. Bag handle. Confronting Thorne in his room, Poirot waves the report. Doctor, your prints on the decanter explain? Thorne stammers. He checked the brandy for Sir Reginald earlier, at his request, to ensure it wasn't tampered with due to his paranoia about rivals. He thought someone was after him, Thorne. Says Poirot, probes. Rivals like whom? Thorne mentions a shady competitor, Mr. Silas Black, who'd sent threatening letters. A telegram to London confirms Black's alibied bedridden with gout. Red herring? But Thorne slips. He admits prescribing cyanide compounds in the past for industrial uses, though not recently. Poirot's eyes narrow. Access to the poison, meanwhile, Graves uncovers a hidden safe in Sir Reginald's study, cracked open with the combination from the lawyer. Inside, missing bonds worth thousands. But a note in Harold's handwriting, repayment plan enclosed. Harold summoned, blusters. Those were legitimate loans. But the bonds are going to stolen with the necklace. Poirot searches Harold's room again, finding a burner receipt for a small furnace in the basement. Racing down, they discover a chaise burned. Papers. Perhaps evidence of embezzlement? Harold claims he burned old ledgers. Chemical analysis later shows traces of ink from forged checks. Amelia and Victor are next. Interrogated together in the billiard room. The necklace in your case? Captain planted? Victor nods furiously. Amelia defends him. I wrapped it in my handkerchief to show Victor privately, father let me, but I put it back. Poirot questions the timeline. Amelia handled it at 8:30 p.m., but it vanished by 9:15. Victor admits to debts totaling £5,000 to unsavory lenders. Sir Reginald refused to pay more, he says. Poirot spots a inconsistency. Victor's wore Scar-Fresh makeup? Quick wipe reveals it's theatrical, not real. Your heroism, captain of fabrication? Victor breaks. He deserted during the war, forged metals to woo Amelia. Blackmail potential. Beatrice Caldwell, lounging in the drawing room with a novel, smirks at Poirot's entrance. Back for more, detective? He presents the lipstick cigarette. Yours, madame. She admits smoking by the lake, but claims she saw a figure in the shadow stall, like Harold near the pavilion, plotting no doubt. Poirot asks about her husband's death. Insured heavily, ruled accident, but rumors of poison. Beatrice laughs. Cyanide. How cliché. But Poirot reveals a old newspaper clipping from Sir Reginald's desk, questioning the verdict. He was investigating you, Poirot says. Beatrice's facade cracks. He threatened to expose me if I didn't leave, but I didn't kill him. Afternoon tea is served under guard, the group eyeing each other warily. Poirot observes. Evelyn avoids Thorne. Victor clings to Amelia. Harold scribbles figures. Beatrice sips smugly. A maid drops a tray nerves and whispers to Poirot. She found a vial in the trash, empty, labeled almond essence, but smelling bitter. Cyanide disguise. Traced to the medicine cabinet, accessible to all. Poirot retreats to the pavilion, reconstructing the scene. Sir Reginald sat here, glass in hand, poison added when Jenkins served, but turned away momentarily. Opportunity for anyone passing. A breeze lifts a curtain-hidden door to the terrace. Yes, concealed by vines leading to the garden. Footprints there, feminine size Evelyn, or Beatrice. Evening brings a storm. Thunder rumbling as Poirot assembles clues. Falsified alibis, Victor's mud-matched shed. Misdirections, glove powder, not poison, personal vendettas, Beatrice's disinheritance. A call from Scotland Yard. Sir Reginald's autopsy confirms cyanide ingested 9:10 to 9:15 mixed in brandy. No fingerprints on the glass, but his own wiped. Poirot questions Jenkins privately. The butler admits overhearing Sir Reginald dictating a new will that morning, cutting out Harold and Beatrice entirely, boosting Amelia's share if she marries worthily. Jenkins posted the letter to the lawyer intercepted. A search finds it torn in the study wastebasket, confronting the group at dinner. A somber meal of cold cuts, Poirot announces. The killer used red herrings to confuse planted items, false trails. Well, the motive is clear greed, intertwined. With fear, reactions vary. Thorn sweats, Victor pales. Crash upstairs, Amelia faints, clutching a note. Confessor suffer, poison pen. As night deepens, Poirot paces, connecting dots. The necklace not just stolen, but bait. He tests the safe, again hidden compartment with love letters from Evelyn to Thorn. Affair confirmed? Evelyn, cornered, admits emotional attachment, but no more. Reginald knew, she sobs. Thorn confesses, prescribing her sedatives, hence the tea. A breakthrough, analyzing the vial. It's from Thorn's bag, but fingerprints are Beatrice's. She denies, claiming setup. Poirot smiles. The web tightens. This maze of deceptions leads us closer to the culprit, peeling back layers of lies. Stay tuned for the revelations in the gathering storm of accusations ahead. Chapter 4. The gathering storm of accusations, the third morning at the Emerald Pavilion, breaks with a deceptive calm. The rain from the previous night giving way to a crisp autumn breeze that rustles the fallen leaves across the lawns. Poirot, having slept little, is already in the dining room. Meticulously arranging silverware, as if setting a trap rather than preparing for breakfast, Inspector Graves joins him, carrying a sheaf of telegrams from Scotland Yard, his face etched with frustration. Monsieur Poirot, we've got confirmations the vial from the trash matches cyanide residue, and Beatrice's fingerprints are indeed on it, but she swears it's a frame-up. Poirot nods thoughtfully, pouring himself a fresh cup of tisane. Inspector, accusations will fly today like arrows in battle. We must gather the suspects and watch the storm brew. The killer will reveal themselves. Through panic, Poirot orchestrates a formal assembly in the Grand Salon, a room adorned with ancestral portraits that seem to judge the living. The guests file in reluctantly. Lady Evelyn, pale and composed in a high-necked blouse. Amelia, clutching Victor's arm for support. The captain himself, his fake scar now exposed and his confidence crumbling. Dr. Thorne, fiddling with his cufflinks. Mrs. Beatrice Caldwell, defiant in crimson lipstick, and Harold Finch mopping his brow with a silk handkerchief. Jenkins the butler stands by the door, impassive as ever, while the maids hover in the hallway, whispering. Graves clears his throat. Ladies and gentlemen, new evidence has surfaced. We'll hear from each of you, again under oath, if need be. Starting. With Beatrice, Poirot fixes her with his piercing gaze. Madame Caldwell, your fingerprints on the poison vial. How do you explain? Beatrice leans back in her armchair, crossing her legs. Simple, detective. I handled medicines in the cabinet earlier that day looking for aspirin for a headache. Us. Someone must have swapped labels or planted it. Poirot counters smoothly. And the argument with your brother-in-law about his investigation into your husband's death. He had clippings, Madame suggesting foul play. Beatrice's eyes flash. Reginald was paranoid. My husband fell overboard. The inquest said so. If anyone's guilty, look at Harold, he's been cooking the books for years. Harold jumps up, face reddening, lies. She's the one cut from the will motive enough to poison him and frame me with those burned papers. The room erupts in crosstalk. Victor points at Thorne. What about the doctor? He had access to poisons, and that affair with Lady Evelyn Sir Reginald found out, didn't he? Evelyn gasps, rising to her feet. How dare you, Elias and I? Was nothing physical, just comfort during lonely times. Reginald exaggerated everything. Thorn nods vigorously. She's right. I prescribed her sedatives, that's all. But Victor, your debts, and that fake heroism you needed money fast, and the necklace was your ticket out. Amelia defends her fiancé tearfully. Stop it. Victor wouldn't kill. If anyone's suspicious, it's you. Doctor, you check the brandy yourself. Poirot raises a hand for silence, his voice cutting through the din like a knife. Miss Amos, let us not descend into chaos. Each accusation holds a kernel of truth, but we must sift the wheat from the chaff. He turns to Graves, who presents the love letters from the safe. Madame Hargrove, these letters to Dr. Thorne, passionate non. My dearest Elias, in your arms I find solace. ... Single quotes. Evelyn blushes deeply. Before. Reginald's temper worsened. We ended it cleanly. Thorne corroborates. No recent involvement. But Poirot, check Harold's accounts. I saw him arguing with Reginald about missing funds. Harold, cornered, admits partial guilt. All right, I borrowed company money for investments, bad ones. Reginald discovered it and demanded repayment. Threatening to expose me? But murder? Never? I'd lose everything. Poirot probes. And the note in your handwriting, meet me at midnight? To whom? Harold hesitates. To Silas Black, the rival. I was negotiating a buyout behind Reginald's back. But Black's alibi holds he wasn't here. Shifting to Victor. Poirot reveals a new telegram. Captain Langston, your military record desertion confirmed. Sir Reginald knew. Yes, he was reconsidering the engagement. Victor slumps. He confronted me that afternoon, said he'd cut Amelia off if we married. I was desperate, but I didn't poison him. I hid the necklace to sell it. Yes, Amelia gave it to me in panic after the crybud I didn't kill. Amelia sobs. I thought it would protect us. Father was so strict lately. As tensions peak, a maid bursts in. Sir, I found this in Mrs. Caldwell's room, hidden in a jewelry box. She holds a small key engraved with the safe's maker mark. Beatrice protests. Planted. I never touched the safe. But Graves tests it fits perfectly. This opens the compartment with the bonds, he says. Stolen along with the necklace. Poirot examines the key. A smudge of oil, like from the tool shed. Lunch is served amid the turmoil. Strained affair of sandwiches and tea, with everyone watching their cups suspiciously. Poirot uses the break to search Beatrice's room thoroughly. Finding a hidden diary, entries ranting about Reginald's cruelty, wishing him dead, even sketching poison methods from novels. Fiction, detective, Beatrice claims. When confronted, I'm a widow with imagination, not a murderess. Afternoon interrogations resume. Poirot questions Jenkins more deeply. You posted the new will letter, but it was torn up. Who intercepted? Jenkins shifts uncomfortably. I left it on the hall table briefly. Anyone could have seen it. A fingerprint on the envelope fragment, Amelia's. Confronted, she admits. I read it. Father was leaving everything to charity if I married. Victor, I tore it in anger, but that's all. Graves receives another wire. The bonds were cashed anonymously in London yesterday by a man matching Harold's description. Harold denies. Impossible. I was here. But a train ticket stub in his pocket says otherwise. He slipped out the night. Before the murder? Business meeting, he insists. Not theft. Poirot assembles clues in his mind. The key in Beatrice's room, but her denial. Victor's hiding of the necklace. Thorne's poisons, Evelyn's affair, Harold's embezzlement. Torn letter. He stages a reconstruction in the pavilion, positioning everyone as they were. At 9:10, Jenkins serves brandy. Sir Reginald drinks, who passed by. Recreations show Beatrice brushed the table. Thorne lingered nearby. Victor stepped out but returned. Flash. The almond scent, only some detect it. Poirot tests the group with a safe essence. Evelyn and Thorne can't smell it, but Beatrice feigns inability, caught lying. You could have smelled the cyanide, madame, yet said nothing, Poirot. Accuses. Beatrice falters. I didn't notice. Evening draws in with thunder rumbling anew. Poirot gathers them once more. The storm of accusations reveals alliances. Evelyn and Thorne covering emotions. Amelia and Victor hiding desperation. Harold, Alone in greed, Beatrice in vengeance. But one thread connects the vial, the key, the lies. A scream from the garden. The sergeant finds a buried poison bottle wrapped in Victor's handkerchief. Victor shouts, "Not mine." As night falls, Poirot confides in Graves, "We are close, Inspector. Tomorrow, the denouement." The accusations have stirred the pot, exposing fractures. But the true killer remains shadowed. This whirlwind of blame edges us toward the truth, unmasking deeper deceptions. Hold on for the dramatic confrontations and the ultimate revelation in the chapters to come. Chapter 5. The tightening web of evidence. The fourth morning at the Emerald Pavilion arrives under a sky bruised with clouds, the air thick with the promise of more rain. Hercule Poirot stands on the terrace, his overcoat buttoned tightly against. The chill, as he gazes at the glass pavilion where Sir Reginald met his end. His little gray cells hum with activity, weaving together the threads of evidence, the cyanide vial with Beatrice's fingerprints, the key to the safe, Victor's handkerchief, around a buried poison bottle, and the tangled motives of love, greed, and revenge. Inspector Graves approaches, his boots crunching on the gravel. "Monsieur Poirot, we've had a breakthrough." A gardener found a pair of gloves in the lake silk, women's size, soaked but with traces of powder. Bon, the web tightens. "Inspector, let us gather our suspects once more and confront them with these new strands." The salon is tense as the group assembles, their faces drawn from sleepless nights. Lady Evelyn sits rigidly, her hands clasped. Amelia clings to Victor, who avoids eye contact. Dr. Thorne adjusts his glasses nervously. Beatrice Caldwell lights a cigarette with a defiant flick. Harold Finch clutches his ledger like a shield. Jenkins hovers by the door, his stoic demeanor betraying a slight tremor in his hands. Poirot begins, holding up the damp silk gloves, their delicate embroidery catching the light. "These were found in the lake Mies Amos, with traces of cyanide powder. Who among you wears such gloves?" Evelyn and Beatrice both pale, as both own similar pairs. Evelyn murmurs, "I lost mine days ago," while Beatrice snaps, "Mine are in my room, check if you must." A quick search confirms Beatrice's. Gloves are intact. Evelyn's are missing. Poirot shifts focus to the buried poison bottle. "Captain Langston, your handkerchief monogrammed with your initials wrapped this bottle. Explain." Victor stammers, "Someone took it from my jacket. I swear I didn't bury anything." Amelia interjects, "He's telling the truth. I saw his handkerchief on the hall table before dinner. Anyone could have grabbed it." Poirot nods thoughtfully, noting the ease of access. He then presents the safe key found in Beatrice's room. "Madame Caldwell, you claimed it was planted, yet it fits the safe perfectly, where bonds were stolen, and your diary are such vivid imaginings of poison." Beatrice exhales smoke sharply. "Fantasy detective. Not wrote those to vent, not to act. As for the key, I never saw it before." Graves interrupts with a new report. The burned papers in the basement furnace contained fragments of a forged contract in Harold's handwriting, linking him to the missing bonds. Harold leaps up. "I burned old documents, yes, but nothing criminal. Someone's framing me, a likely Beatrice, to shift blame." Beatrice laughs coldly. "You're the one sneaking to London to cash bonds, Harold. Don't point fingers at me." Poirot intervenes. "Enough. Let us examine alibis anew. At 9:10 p.m., when the brandy was served, where were you precisely?" Evelyn claims she was in the powder room, but a maid saw her near the Pavilion terrace at 9:05, adjusting her shawl. Thorne says he was fetching his bag, but his medical log shows no entries that night for a diligent doctor. Victor and Amelia insist they were by the lake, yet the gardener recalls only one figure there, Victor, before the cry. Harold was on the phone, but the call log shows it ended at 9 o'clock, leaving him unaccounted for. Beatrice was in the kitchen, yet Mrs. Potts notes she lingered by the bar cart afterward. Jenkins, serving drinks, admits turning away briefly to answer a maid's question, leaving the decanter unguarded. Poirot stages another reconstruction, this time on the terrace. "The hidden door here," he says, pushing aside vines, leads directly to the pavilion. Someone slipped in, poisoned the glass, and slipped out. He tests the door, It creaks faintly, unnoticed during the evening's chatter. Footprints. In the mud, small, feminine point to Evelyn or Beatrice again. But a new clue emerges. A broken cufflink, silver with an emerald stud, found near the door. Sir Reginald's, Graves asks. None too small. Perhaps. Dr. Thorne's. Thorne flushes, admitting he lost a cufflink that night, but thought it was in his room. A search finds its pair engraved with his initials. Lunch is a silent ordeal, the group barely touching their soup. Poirot uses the break to inspect the lake's edge where the gloves were found. A faint trail of disturbed reeds suggests someone tossed them from the shore near where Amelia and Victor claimed to stroll. He questions Amelia privately. Mademoiselle, you tore the new will. Did you fear your father's conditions? She nods, tears welling. He wanted me to marry someone worthy, not Victor. I was angry, but I didn't kill him. Notices her hands. A faint scratch, fresh. Possibly from thorns near the shed. Confronting Victor next, Poirot presses. Your debts. Captain, did Sir Reginald's threat to stop the wedding push you to desperation? Victor admits, begging. Sir Reginald, for a loan that afternoon, refused flatly. I took the necklace in a moment of weakness, he confesses. But poison? No. Someone's using me as a scapegoat. Poirot observes his boots again. Mud matches the lake, not just the shed. In the afternoon, Poirot and Graves search Thorne's medical bag thoroughly. Hidden in a false bottom, a syringe with cyanide traces. Thorne protests. I use it for sterilizing equipment trace amounts, not lethal. But the syringe's needle matches a tiny mark on Sir Reginald's neck, unnoticed. Before, due to his collar. A second method, Poirot muses. Or another red herring? Thorne's alibi weakens further. A maid saw him near the terrace door at 9:12. Not his room, Beatrice questioned again. Admits to a secret. She'd been blackmailing Harold over his embezzlement, demanding a cut to stay silent. Reginald found. Out, she says. He threatened to turn me over to the police unless I left the family. Poirot ponders. Did she silence him to protect her scheme? Her cigarette butts litter the garden, one with a trace of cyanide, powder careless or planted. Harold, sweating, reveals a new detail under pressure. He saw Evelyn slip a vial into her purse the morning of the murder. I thought it was perfume, he says. Evelyn, recalled, denies it, but a search of her purse finds a glass vial empty, smelling faintly of almonds. It's just scent, she insists. Chemical analysis confirms. No poison, just fragrance. Another misdirection? As evening descends, Poirot gathers everyone in the pavilion, the scene of the crime. The evidence mounts, he declares. In the lake, a cufflink by the door, a syringe in the bag, a vial in a purse, each points to guilt. Yet each could be a trap. The killer is clever, planting clues to confuse. He watches reactions. Thorne fidgets. Beatrice smirks. Evelyn trembles. A sudden noise at dropped glass. Jenkins, pale, apologizes. Poirot's eyes linger on him. The butler, always present, always overlooked. Before retiring, Poirot confides in Graves. The murderer hides behind these distractions, but one clue does not lie: the timing. The poison was in the glass, not the decanter. Only one had the precise moment. He requests Jenkins' records. A distant cousin to Sir Reginald, recently hired, with a history of petty theft. Motive? The day ends with Poirot sketching a timeline on a notepad, circling names. The web is nearly complete, but one thread remains loose, waiting to unravel the truth. This cascade of clues brings us to the brink of revelation, where missteps and motives collide. Stay with us for the final confrontations that will expose the heart of this deadly puzzle. Chapter 6. Shadows of Motive. The fifth morning at the Emerald Pavilion dawns with a restless energy, the air heavy with the scent of damp earth and impending truth. Hercule Poirot, standing in the library with its towering shelves, sips a cup of chamomile tea, his eyes scanning a map of the estate he's sketched, marking key locations: the pavilion, the lake, the tool shed, the hidden terrace door. Inspector Graves enters, clutching a fresh report from Scotland Yard. Monsieur Poirot. Jenkins' background check came through. Minor thefts, yes, but also a sealed record assault, dropped for lack of evidence. And he's Sir Reginald's cousin, third removed, with a potential claim to the estate if the immediate family is disinherited. Poirot's mustache twitches. Most interesting, Inspector. A shadow in the background steps forward. Let us probe the motives today, for they cast long shadows indeed. Poirot calls for a private meeting in the study, summoning Jenkins first. The butler, usually unflappable, shifts uneasily under Poirot's gaze. Monsieur Jenkins, you served the fatal brandy, yet claim no knowledge of the poison. Your cousin, Sir Reginald, did he slight you? Jenkins admits to resentment. Sir Reginald had promised him a larger role in the household. Perhaps a bequest, but recently demoted him to mere servant status. I was loyal, Jenkins says, voice tight. I didn't kill him, Poirot notes. His access to the bar cart and knowledge of the household's routines perfect for slipping cyanide into a single glass. A search of Jenkins' quarters reveals a hidden letter from Sir Reginald, threatening to sack him for disloyalty. Motive for revenge? Next, Poirot questions Lady Evelyn again, this time in the conservatory amid blooming orchids. Madame, your husband's new will, did you know it favored charity over family? Evelyn nods, her eyes distant. He told me last week he wanted to atone for his ruthless business dealings. I begged him to reconsider for Amelia's sake. Poirot presses, and your attachment to Dr. Thorne, did Sir Reginald threaten to expose it? Evelyn's hands tremble. Called it scandalous. Said he'd ruin Elias' career, but I'd never kill for that. Poirot observes a faint burn mark on her finger, like from handling chemicals unnoticed before. She claims it's from Gardeny acid. Dr. Thorne is summoned to the billiard room where Poirot confronts him about the syringe with cyanide traces. Doctor, you had means and opportunity. Are Reginald's threat to your reputations serious? Non. Thorne adjusts, his glasses sweating. He was going to report me to the medical board for that failed investment loan. I'd lose everything. But the syringe, it's for sterilizing, not murder. Poirot reveals a new find, a medical journal in Thorne's room, bookmarked it. A page on cyanide's rapid effects, research, or planning? Poirot asks. Thorne stammers, curiosity, nothing more. Amelia and Victor are questioned together in the drawing room. Poirot holds up the torn will envelope with Amelia's prints. Mademoiselle, you destroyed your father's wishes. Why? Amelia's voice breaks. He was going to cut me off. Unless I left Victor, I couldn't bear it. Victor interjects. I took the necklace to secure our future, not to kill. Someone used my handkerchief to frame me. Poirot notes Victor's knowledge of the estate's layout he'd visited, often before the engagement. Could he have known about the terrace door? A maid reports seeing Victor near the study days prior, reading Sir Reginald's papers. Beatrice Caldwell, lounging in the sunroom, meets Poirot's questions with her usual bravado.
Yeah.
Your blackmail of Harold, did Sir Reginald discover it? Beatrice stubs out her cigarette. He suspected, yes. Threatened to have me arrested unless I left the Pavilion for good. But I'm no poisoner. Check my travel case. It's clean. Poirot does, finding only cosmetics and novels. But a hidden compartment holds a bank statement. A large deposit, unexplained, dated days before the murder. Inheritance from my husband, Beatrice claims, but Poirot wonders bribes or hush. Money? Harold Finch, in the dining room, faces Poirot's scrutiny over the forged contract ashes. Monsieur Finch, you stood to lose the business to Sir Reginald's new will? Desperate measures, perhaps? Harold's hands shake. I admit. 2 skimming funds, but murder? I'd gain nothing if the company collapsed in scandal. Poirot reveals a witness. A footman saw Harold near the Pavilion's bar cart at 9:08 p.m., adjusting bottles. Just straightening them, Harold insists. Poirot finds a ledger entry in Harold's room, noting a mysterious payment to an unknown J. Jenkins. Lunch is a grim affair, the group barely speaking, forks scraping against plates. Poirot uses the break to revisit the Pavilion, examining the bar cart. A faint scratch on the brandy glass made by a ring. Only Beatrice wears a prominent one. A ruby that could leave such a mark. Confronted, she laughs. I handled the glass earlier. toasting Reginald's health ironic, isn't it? But her timeline shifts. She now claims to have been at the cart at 9:09, not the kitchen. In the afternoon, Poirot and Graves search the lake again, finding a submerged bottle cap matching the cyanide vial near where Victor claimed to stroll. Chemical tests confirm it held cyanide, likely tossed to hide evidence. Graves uncovers a new lead. A groundskeeper saw Jenkins near the lake at dawn the day after the murder, looking nervous. Jenkins, recalled, admits to a walk, but denies tampering. Was checking the grounds, he says, but his eyes dart away. Poirot stages a test. He asks each suspect to handle a replica glass, watching their grip. Beatrice's ring scratches it similarly. Thorne's hands shake, nearly dropping it. Evelyn's fingers avoid the rim, as if cautious. Victor and Amelia handle it clumsily, Harold with confidence, Jenkins with precision, too precise. Poirot notes Jenkins' steady hands. Trained for service, but capable of subtler tasks. As evening falls, Poirot gathers the group in the library, the fire casting flickering shadows. Motives abound, he declares. Revenge for Jenkins. Scorned by family, love, and fear for Evelyn and Thorne. Desperation for Amelia and Victor. Greed for Harold. Vengeance for Beatrice. Yet the poison was precise. One moment. He reveals the bottle cap, thrown into the lake. But by whom? Eyes shift Victor to Amelia, Thorne to Evelyn. A sudden clatter. Jenkins drops. A tray, his face ashen, before dispersing. Poirot confides in Graves. The butler's shadow grows darker, but others' motives intertwine. We need one final piece. He requests a guest list from past Pavilion events. Jenkins attended one where a guest, a chemist, died mysteriously. Connection? The day closes with Poirot sketching a motive map, lines crossing like a spider's web. The killer's shadow looms, but their face remains hidden, one step from exposure. This dance of motives pulls us closer to the truth. The shadows shift and secrets unravel. Join us next for the final clues that will corner the culprit in this deadly game. Chapter 7. The final clues. The 6th morning at the Emerald Pavilion breaks with a pale sun piercing the mist, casting long shadows across the estate's manicured lawns. Monsieur Poirot stands in the glass pavilion, his hands clasped behind his back, staring at the spot where Sir Reginald collapsed. The room feels colder now, as if the weight of the unfolding mystery chills the air. Inspector Graves hurries in, clutching a telegram and a small evidence bag. Monsieur Poirot, we've got something, a chemist's report from that past event Jenkins attended. A guest died of cyanide poisoning, ruled accidental, but Jenkins was questioned. In this, he holds up a tiny glass shard, found near the terrace door, with a trace of cyanide. Poirot's eyes narrow. The final pieces, Inspector. Today, we corner the truth. Let us set the trap with care. Poirot begins by summoning Jenkins to the library, where sunlight filters through heavy curtains. Monsieur Jenkins, a chemist's death, cyanide, and you near be curious non? The butler's face tightens, his usual composure fraying. A coincidence, sir? I was a junior footman then, merely serving drinks. Poirot reveals the telegram. Jenkins had access to the chemist's lab during that event, fetching supplies. Opportunity to learn poison's ways, Poirot asks. Jenkins insists he only carried boxes, but his fingers twitch, betraying nerves. Poirot notes, a callus on his right hand, unusual for a butler. More like a gardener's grip. Next, Poirot meets Lady Evelyn in the rose garden, where she's pruning bushes with a distracted air. Madame, your burn mark chemical, you said. Yet gardening acid leaves no such scar. Evelyn hesitates, then admits handling cleaning fluids in the pantry to help the maids. Poirot presses, or to access poison stored there. She shakes her head, but a gardener overhears, mentioning he saw Evelyn near the pantry the morning of the murder, carrying a small bottle. For stains, she claims. But Poirot recalls the pantry's proximity to the bar Cartesi to slip something into a glass Dr. Thorne is questioned in his room, where Poirot points to the medical journal on cyanide. Doctor, your interest in poisons is professional or personal? Thorne wipes his brow. I read widely to stay informed. Sir Reginald's threats to my career pushed me to research defenses, not murder. Poirot reveals the glass shard. From the terrace door, its edge matches a broken vial in Thorne's bag, overlooked before. Careless disposal? Thorne stammers. I broke a sample bottle last week, unrelated. But the timing bothers Poirot. The shard was fresh, not weathered. Amelia and Victor meet Poirot in the billiard room, their faces drawn. Mademoiselle, your scratch from Thorne's near the shed. Amelia nods, saying she tripped while walking with Victor. Poirot shifts to Victor. Your handkerchief around the poison bottle stolen, you say? Yet you knew the lake's hiding spots. Victor admits exploring the estate often, but denies hiding evidence. A new clue surfaces. A maid found a torn glove in the shed, matching the lake's pair with Amelia's monogram. I lost those weeks ago, she cries. Poirot wonders, another frame-up or carelessness? Beatrice Caldwell, summoned to the sunroom, greets Poirot with a sardonic smile. Still chasing me, detective? He presents the bank statement with her mysterious deposit. Madame, this money blackmail from Harold, or payment for silence? Beatrice laughs. A cousin's gift, nothing more. But Poirot reveals a letter from the bank. The deposit came from an offshore account linked to Sir Reginald's rivals. You sold secrets? Beatrice denies it, but her cigarette trembles. A search of her coat finds a matchbook from a London club known for shady deals dated the day before the murder. Harold Finch. In the dining room, faces Poirot's scrutiny over the J-ledger entry. Monsieur Finch? A payment to Jenkins, perhaps? Harold sweats, admitting he tipped Jenkins for discreet tasks, delivering messages to rivals. Not murder, he insists. Poirot shows the glass shards analysis. It matches a vial. Type sold to the estate's groundskeeping supplier, accessible to Jenkins or Harold, who oversaw maintenance budgets. Harold claims ignorance, but his ledger shows unexplained purchases of chemicals. At lunch, the group barely eats, their eyes darting suspiciously. Poirot uses the break to inspect the pantry. Finding a hidden shelf with rat poison and cleaning fluid cyanide could have been disguised there. A bottle's label is smudged, as if handled recently. He questions Mrs. Potts, who recalls Jenkins fetching supplies from the pantry the day of the murder. For polishing silver, suspicious timing. In the afternoon, Poirot stages a subtle test in the pavilion, places a replica brandy glass on the bar cart, laced with a harmless almond-scented liquid, and watches from a corner. Jenkins pours drinks, hesitating near the glass. Evelyn avoids it. Thorne sniffs it curiously. Beatrice picks it up, then sets it down quickly. Victor and Amelia ignore it. Harold examines it closely. Poirot notes Jenkins's pause instinct, or guilt. A breakthrough comes when Graves uncovers a groundskeeper's log. Jenkins borrowed a shovel the night of the murder, claiming to fix a fence. The buried poison bottle's location matches the shovel's use. Confronted Jenkins, admits digging but says it was to bury spoiled food, not evidence. Poirot's eyes gleam. Yet the bottle was there, monsieur. Evening brings a tense gathering in the salon. Poirot lays out the clues. A shard by the door, a glove in the shed, a shovel in the night. Each points to a hand, but whose? Killer used the terrace door, knew the pantry, and hid their tracks poorly. He watches reactions. Jenkins stiffens, Evelyn fidgets, Thorne adjusts his glasses. A sudden find a groundskeeper reports a hidden satchel in the tool shed, containing a vial wrapper and a note. Dispose of it, J. Jenkins' initials? Poirot questions Jenkins alone. Your cousin's rejection, your access, your knowledge why. Not confess? Jenkins breaks, admitting he stole small items for extra money, but swears no murder. The note was about old silverware, he claims. Poirot doubts the wrapper matches the cyanide vial. As night falls, Poirot confides in Graves. The clues circled Jenkins, yet others' hands are not clean. Evelyn's chemicals, Thorne's vial, Beatrice's money, Victor's handkerchief, Amelia's glove. Harold's payments all weave a net. He requests one last check. The estate's delivery records for chemical purchases. A name may emerge. Final clues are in place, the trap nearly sprung. Stay tuned as Poirot prepares to unmask the killer in the heart-stopping finale of this intricate mystery. Chapter 8. The trap is sprung. The seventh morning at the Emerald Pavilion dawns with a tense hush. As if the estate itself holds its breath, Hercule Poirot, impeccably groomed despite the strain of the case, stands in the grand salon, his hands clasped behind his back, his eyes sharp as he surveys the room's ornate details, the gilded mirrors, the velvet drapes, the portraits staring down like silent witnesses. Inspector Graves enters, clutching a thin folder. "Monsieur Poirot, the delivery records you asked? 4 chemicals ordered for the estate." One entry stands out. A small batch of cyanide-based pesticides signed for by Jenkins, delivered 2 weeks ago. Poirot's mustache twitches. "Excellent. Inspector, the trap is ready. Tonight we unmask the killer, but first we must stir the pot to force their hand." Poirot begins the day with a calculated move, gathering the suspects in the dining room for a late breakfast, though no one has much appetite. The air crackles with unease as Evelyn, Amelia, Victor, Thorne, Beatrice, Harold, and Jenkins take their seats, their faces a gallery of worry, defiance, and fatigue. Poirot stands at the head of the table, his voice calm but commanding. "Amos, the evidence is nearly complete. Pesticide order, signed by one among us, contained cyanide. A note in the shed, a buried bottle, a glass shardle, point to a single hand. But I offer a chance. Confess now, and leniency may follow." Silence falls, broken only by the clink of a spoon as Amelia drops hers, her eyes wide. Jenkins is questioned first, in the library, where Poirot presents the delivery record. "Monsieur Jenkins, you signed for cyanide pesticide. Why?" The butler's composure cracks, his hands clenching. "For the garden serrats were a problem. Stored it in the pantry, locked away." Poirot leans forward. "Yet the pantry was accessible, and you were near the bar cart at 9:10 p.m. Did you slip the poison into Sir Reginald's glass?" Jenkins shakes his head, voice hoarse. "I served as always. Someone else took it." Poirot reveals the shed. "Note, dispose of it, J." Jenkins insists it referred to old tools, but his eyes avoid Poirot's. Next, Poirot meets Evelyn in the conservatory, where she's arranging flowers with shaky hands. "Madame, the pantry, you visited it often. Did you see the pesticide?" Evelyn admits checking supplies for cleaning, but denies touching poisons. Poirot shows her a new clue, a gardener's log noting her borrowing a key to the pantry days before the murder. "For soap," she says, but her voice falters. Poirot notices a faint stain on her sleeve chemical, perhaps matching the pantry's supplies. Dr. Thorne, questioned in his room, faces the glass shard evidence. "Doctor, this shard matches your vial. Did you dispose of it via the terrace?" Dorthorn's glasses slip down his nose. "I told you, it broke accidentally weeks ago." Poirot reveals a maid's testimony. She saw Thorne near the pantry the morning of the murder, carrying a small case.
Medical supplies.
He claims, but Poirot finds a receipt in Thorne's desk for a chemical order not logged officially. "Research?" Poirot asks. Thorne nods, but sweat beads on his forehead. Amelia and Victor are interrogated in the billiard room. Poirot holds up the monogrammed glove from the shed. "Mademoiselle, your glove near cyanide traces. Careless." Amelia bursts into tears. "I lost it walking." "Someone's framing us," Victor adds. "I took the necklace. Yes, but poison? Never." Poirot reveals a new find. A groundskeeper saw Victor near the pantry window the day before the murder. Peering inside, "I was looking for Amelia," he claims, but his boots carry traces of pantry dust. Unnoticed before Beatrice. In the sunroom, scoffs at Poirot's approach. "Still hounding me, detective?" He presents the matchbook from the London club. "Madame, your connections to Sir Reginald's rivals, did they supply the cyanide?" Beatrice laughs sharply. "A drink with a friend, nothing more." But Poirot uncovers a telegram in her luggage, coded from a rival industrialist. "Deal sealed. Remove obstacle." Beatrice claims it's about a business loan, but her fingers shred a napkin nervously. Harold. The study faces the chemical purchase discrepancy. Monsieur Finch, you approved budgets for the estate's supplies? Did you know of the cyanide? Harold admits overseeing orders but denies specifics. Jenkins handled details, he says. Poirot shows a bank record. A payment to the supplier. Routed through Harold's personal account? Clerical error, Harold stammers. But Poirot finds a coded ledger entry linking him to J. a Genjin Jenkins, or a red herring. At lunch, the tension is palpable. Forks hovering over untouched plates. Poirot orchestrates a test. He places a decoy vial empty. Almond sent it on the sideboard, announcing its evidence. Beatrice glances at it, avoids it. Jenkins moves to clear it, but stops when Poirot watches. Later, a maid reports the vial missing found in the garden tossed near the lake. Fingerprints. In the afternoon, Poirot and Graves search the pantry again. Finding a hidden lockbox under a shelf, opened with the safe key from Beatrice's room. Inside, a partial vial label, matching the cyanide pesticide, and a single pearl, like those on Evelyn's necklace. A clue dropped in haste, Poirot muses. Confronting Evelyn, she gasps, "I lost a pearl that night near the pavilion. Planted or accidental?" As evening approaches, Poirot gathers everyone in the pavilion, the glass walls reflecting their anxious faces. "The trap is sprung," he declares. "The cyanide came from the pantry, signed for by Jenkins, accessible to all. The glove, the shard, the pearl, old distractions, but the timing betrays the killer. At 9:10, one of you poisoned the glass, using the terrace door for cover." He pauses, watching. Jenkins shifts. Evelyn clutches her pearls, thorns, glasses, fog.
Ow!
A new clue. A maid found a torn cufflink ribbon in the terrace vines matching Jenkins. Uniform Poirot confronts Jenkins privately. "Your thefts, your resentment, your excess confess." Jenkins breaks, admitting he stole the pearl to sell, but swears no murder. "I saw someone by the bar cart," he whispers, "but I won't say who, too dangerous." Poirot presses. But Jenkins clams up, fear in his eyes. Before dinner, Poirot confides in Graves. "The killer is among us, panicked by our trap." The pearl links to Evelyn, the cufflink to Jenkins, the vial to Thorne. But one clue Jenkins' silence holds. The key. He requests a final check. The estate's phone records for calls made the night of the murder. As night falls, Poirot paces the pavilion, his mind racing. The clues align, but the killer's face is still shadowed, one confession away from exposure. This tightening trap has set the stage for the final unmasking. Stay with us as Poirot unveils the murderer in the heart of the Emerald Pavilion's deadly mystery. Chapter 9. The Unmasking. The 8th morning at the Emerald Pavilion dawns with an oppressive stillness. The sun barely piercing a veil of gray clouds. Hercule Poirot stands in the grand salon, his polished shoes reflecting the polished parquet. Flora's hands folded neatly as he prepares for the final act. Inspector Graves rushes in, waving a thin sheet of paper. "Monsieur Poirot, the phone records you requested, 2 calls were made from the study at 8:50 p.m., just before the murder. One to a London number, traced to a chemist known for supplying restricted substances. The other, cut off, to an unknown line." Poirot's eyes gleam like polished jade. "The final thread, Inspector. The killer made a mistake, and now we unmask them. Gather everyone in the pavilion tonight. The truth shines." Poirot spends the morning in quiet preparation, pacing the estate's gravel paths, his mind weaving the clues into a coherent tapestry. Jenkins' signed pesticide order, Evelyn's missing pearl, Thorne's vial shard, Victor's handkerchief, Amelia's glove, Beatrice's coded telegram, Harold's secret payments. Each suspect's motive: revenge, love, greed interlocks. But the phone calls point to a single hand. He requests Graves to fetch one last piece of evidence, a chemist's ledger, cross-referenced with the London number, which arrives by noon, confirming a cyanide purchase under an alias linked to an address Jenkins once used. The suspects are summoned to the glass pavilion at dusk, its walls glowing faintly under the setting sun, casting eerie reflections of their tense faces.
"Lady,"
Evelyn adjusts her pearls nervously. Amelia grips Victor's hand. Dr. Thorne cleans his glasses repeatedly. Beatrice lights a cigarette with a trembling match. Harold clutches his ledger like a lifeline. Jenkins stands rigidly by the bar cart, his eyes darting. Graves stations 2 constables at the doors, ensuring no one leaves. Poirot steps forward, his voice steady. Ms. Amos, the puzzle is complete. A murder planned with precision, hidden by misdirection, but betrayed by a call, a pearl, a lie. Let us unravel it. He begins with Jenkins. Monsieur Jenkins, you signed for cyanide, pesticide, had access to the pantry, and made a call to a chemist hours before Sir Reginald's death. Why? Jenkins pales, his voice hoarse. I ordered it for the gardens, as I said. The call was to confirm delivery, nothing more. Poirot holds up the chemist's ledger. It's alias J. Carter matches your old address. You procured cyanide, non? Jenkins stammers, I was pressured, but I didn't kill. Poirot notes his hesitation, a crack in his facade. Turning to Evelyn, Poirot points to the pearl found in the lockbox. Madame, your necklace lost a pearl near the crime scene. You were in the pantry, handling chemicals? Evelyn's voice shakes. I told you, it fell off during dinner. I never touched poison. Poirot reveals a maid's testimony, Evelyn. Was seen near the bar cart at 9:09 p.m., adjusting glasses. Coincidence? He asks. Evelyn collapses into a chair, sobbing. I only straightened them. Dr. Thorne is next. Doctor, your vial shard by the terrace door. Your knowledge. Of cyanide, convenient non. Thorne protests. I broke a sample bottle, as I said. I'm no murderer. Poirot presents the phone records. The second cut-off call was to Thorne's clinic. Planning an escape, perhaps? Thorne shakes his head. Patient inquiry check. The logs. But the clinic confirms no such call was received. Amelia and Victor face scrutiny together. Mademoiselle, your glove in the shed. Captain, your handkerchief on the poison bottle. A desperate couple, perhaps? Amelia cries, we were framed. Victor adds, I took the necklace, yes, but no more. Poirot reveals a new clue. A groundskeeper saw Amelia near the terrace door at 9:07 p.m. alone. Victor. She insists, but her scratch from the shed thorns suggests otherwise. Beatrice, exhaling smoke, meets Poirot's gaze defiantly. Madame, your telegram remove obstacle? A deal with rivals? Beatrice laughs. Business. Not murder. You've got nothing. Poirot shows the matchbook from the London club, frequented by the chemist. A connection to the cyanide source? Beatrice falters. I was there for drinks, not deals. Harold, sweating, faces the ledger entry. Monsieur Finch, your payments to J. Jenkins for poison? Harold denies it. I paid him for errands, not murder. Poirot reveals the bank transfer to the supplier, routed through Harold's account. You funded the cyanide? Harold collapses. I didn't know what it was for. Poirot steps to the center, his voice rising. The killer used the terrace door, poisoned one glass, and hid evidence poorly. The phone call at 8:50 betrays. The only one had access to the study then. He pauses, watching Jenkins closely. Monsieur Jenkins, you called the chemist confirming cyanide? You resented Sir Reginald's demotion, his threat to sack you. You stole the pearl to sell, planted the glove to frame Amelia, used Victor's handkerchief. The cufflink ribbon yours, torn in haste. Jenkins lunges for the door, but constables. Grab him. I didn't do it, he shouts. Poirot continues. You slipped cyanide into the glass at 9:10. When you turned away briefly, your call to the chemist sealed your intent. Evidence mounts, the pesticide order, the alias, the shovel, used to bury the bottle. Jenkins breaks, sobbing, he humiliated me, cast me aside after years of service. I wanted justice. The room gasps. Evelyn faints, Amelia weeps, Victor curses. Thorne and Beatrice exchange stunned glances. Harold mutters about scandal.
Poirot
Raises a hand. Justice, monsieur? No, vengeance. You poisoned Sir Reginald, but your clue sloppy panic betrayed you. Graves cuffs Jenkins, who slumps in defeat. Poirot addresses the group. Others had motives, but only one acted. The necklace, the bond's distractions. The truth lies in the timing, the call, the hand that poured death. He bows slightly. The case is closed, as Jenkins is led. Away, the pavilion feels lighter, the shadows lifting. The killer is unmasked, but questions linger about the other's secrets. To be explored in the aftermath, this dramatic unmasking reveals the heart of the mystery, but the pavilion holds more truths. Stay with us for the final chapter where loose ends are tied and justice settles. Chapter 10. The aftermath and loose ends. The 9th morning at the Emerald Pavilion dawns with a serene clarity. The clouds parting to reveal a bright sun that bathes the estate in golden light. The oppressive weight of the murder has lifted, but the air carries a bittersweet tang of resolution and regret. Hercule Poirot stands in the grand salon, his suitcase packed, his mustache impeccably waxed, ready to depart. Inspector Graves joins him, his notebook tucked away, a look of gratitude. On his weary face, Monsieur Poirot, you've done it again. Jenkins is in custody, confessing fully to Scotland Yard's men. But the family, they're shaken. Will you address them one last time? Poirot nods, his green eyes thoughtful. We, Inspector. Truth is revealed, but the heart of this house needs mending. Let us tie the loose ends, the remaining. Guests gather in the pavilion, its glass walls sparkling under the morning sun. It's no longer a scene of death, but a place of reckoning. Lady Evelyn sits with a quiet dignity, her pearls replaced by a simple scarf. Amelia and Victor stand apart, their engagement ring glinting uncertainly. Dr. Thorne adjusts his glasses, subdued. Beatrice Caldwell lights a cigarette, her bravado softened. Harold Finch clutches a new ledger, his face etched with worry. Poirot steps forward, his voice warm yet precise. His Amos, the murderer, has caught Jenkins, driven by resentment, poisoned Sir Reginald. But your secrets, they too played a role in this tragedy. Let us lay them bare and find peace. He begins with Evelyn. Madame, your affection for Dr. Thorne was no crime, but your silence fueled suspicion. Why not speak? Evelyn sighs, her voice soft. I feared scandal, for Amelia's sake. Reginald's jealousy made it worse. Poirot reveals a letter found in her room, unsent, confessing her feelings to Thorne but vowing to stay loyal. Your heart was true, madame. Let it guide you now. Evelyn nods, tears in her eyes, and glances at Thorne, who offers a small, reassuring smile. Turning to Thorne, Poirot addresses the vile shard and chemical knowledge. Doctor, your research was innocent, but your fear of exposure clouded your... True, Thorne admits he hid the broken vial, worried it would implicate him. I borrowed money from Reginald, yes, but I never betrayed him. Poirot produces a medical board letter, clearing Thorne of misconduct. Your career is safe, monsieur. Be honest henceforth. Amelia and Victor face Poirot next, their hands no longer clasped. Mademoiselle, your torn will, your glove fear for your future drove you to rash acts, Amelia confesses. I was terrified of losing Victor and father's love. Victor adds, I stole the necklace to secure us, but I should have trusted her. Poirot reveals the necklace, recovered from Victor's suitcase, now returned to the safe. Your love is real, but trust must replace deceit. Amelia removes her ring, whispering, we need time. Victor nods, chastened Beatrice, exhaling smoke, meets Poirot's gaze with less defiance. Madame, your blackmail and rival connections, dangerous games. Beatrice admits she pressured Harold for money using Sir Reginald's suspicions. To her advantage, I wanted security, not death. Poirot shows the decoded telegram. It was indeed a business deal, not murder. Your wit is sharp, madame, but use it for good. Beatrice stubs out her cigarette, a rare softness in her eyes. Harold, trembling, faces the final scrutiny. Monsieur Finch, your embezzlement and payments to Jenkins nearly cost you everything. Harold confesses fully, I skimmed funds to cover debts, paid Jenkins to spy on rivals. I didn't know his plans. Poirot presents a bank statement. Harold's accounts are frozen, but the company survives under new management. Repay your debts honestly, monsieur. Harold nods, relief mixing with shame. Poirot addresses the group collectively. Each of you hid truths, creating shadows where Jenkins' crime thrived. Sir Reginald's death was his act, but your secrets gave it room. Learn from this, reveals a final clue. Jenkins' full confession, detailing how he used the pantry cyanide, slipped it into the brandy glass during a brief distraction, and planted clues to frame others: Amelia's glove, Victor's handkerchief, Evelyn's pearl. The phone call to the chemist was his final preparation. The cut-off call, an attempt to warn an accomplice who never answered. As the group disperses, Evelyn invites Poirot to stay for tea, but he declines gently. My work is done, madame. The pavilion must heal without me. Amelia and Victor walk to the lake, talking quietly. Thorne offers Evelyn a handkerchief. Beatrice and Harold exchange cautious nods, their rivalry paused. Graves escorts Poirot to the waiting Rolls-Royce, the gravel crunching underfoot. You've saved us a scandal, Monsieur Poirot, Graves says. Poirot smiles faintly. The scandal is in the heart, Inspector. I only bring light. As the car pulls away, Poirot gazes at the Emerald Pavilion, its spires gleaming like a jewel against the sky. The mystery is solved, the killer unmasked, but the human frailties, love, greed, fear linger. Reminder of the delicate balance his little gray cells navigate. Leans back, closing his eyes, ready for the next puzzle. This concludes our tale of murder and motives at the Emerald Pavilion. If you've enjoyed this journey with Poirot, please like and subscribe for more mysteries. And comment below with your thoughts. Who did you suspect? Until next time, keep your eyes sharp and your mind sharper